Mr. Mike Yates is a U.S. Marine Corps veteran. He served in the military for 4 long years. As you watch this video, you will get to know him a little better and learn more about his amazing story.
Probably the scariest thing that happened to me in the Marine Corps on November the 22nd, 1968, in Chu Lai in Vietnam, in the I Corps Division up close to the DMZ. We were attacked on our north end perimeter by a Viet Cong group, and at the simultaneously we were hit on our south perimeter by a North Vietnamese Zapper battalion strength. And I happened to be in defensive position on the south end perimeter in a continuous firefight through the night, and it made it very, very memorable because it was my 21st birthday.
Mr. Yates experienced several exciting moments during his journey in the U.S. Marines.
Probably the most exciting thing is being able to come back to Cherry Point, North Carolina, and be accepted into the flight engineers program and be able to fly in the flight engineer seat on KC-130s on missions in and out of Rosie Roads, Puerto Rico, back and forth to Guantanamo Bay, and back and forth to the Azores and Portugal, ferrying troops and a big C-130, and being able to be in that program and lead the Marine Corps as a flight engineer on the C-130 was probably kind of the highlight of my career as a Marine.
What does the military do for you now? Some might ask.
Well, for the military, it's a basis for our freedoms. It's a basis for the freedoms that we have, the defense of our country. I'm proud of all of our branches of the Marine Corps, of all our branches of the service, especially the United States Marine Corps. It's the police force of the world. It's a major defense of our country. We couldn't survive without a strong military, a strong defense. I'm proud of all our branches.
Although it was tough, Mr. Yates has no regrets of joining the military, and his reason is remarkable.
Absolutely not 1 minute of any day. Probably one of the proudest things that I've ever done is to be able to say that I didn't say that I was, that I am a United States Marine. Yeah, again, it's a sense of pride, it's a sense of accomplishment. Nothing that I've done in my life, I think, through business or anything else, compares to the fact that I served my country in Vietnam, and I feel like that I had a sense of purpose during that period of time, and throughout all of history, or to this day, I feel good that I served our country.
One thing that has been difficult for Mr. Yates to forget is the treatment he and other military officers received as they returned home.
It's a little bit of a sore subject. I don't blame, I guess, necessarily carry the grudge over all the years, but we weren't treated with the respect that I felt like that we needed. There was a total misunderstanding of the military at that time. I flew back in the country into San Francisco, and really and truly, when we were debriefed in Okinawa prior to coming back, we were expecting, I think, a little bit of that on the West Coast. And I really didn't experience so much on the West Coast, and what was so surprising is a connecting flight from San Francisco to Dallas. And there was a group of, I don't know what you call hippies, young people that were anti-war, that were shouting names, baby killer, and spitting and doing a few things that shouldn't be done. And even as I got out of the Marine Corps and started to the University of Memphis State, there was a same faction that had very little respect. And just the fact that knowing that I was a Marine and I served the country, it kind of was at a point that you could elevate yourself above the fray and not let it really get at you so much.
Finally, Mr. Yates has advice for young people joining or thinking about joining the military.
For a young man, a young woman that doesn't have the direction in their life at this point in time as they graduate from high school or early after graduation, and kind of want to get their head straight, get a focus on life and whatever, I think it's a marvelous thing to do. You grow up quickly in the military, whichever branch of the military is, especially a fighting branch like the Marine Corps, or if you're in infantry division of the Army or something of that nature. I think you grow up fast, grow up to respect authority, and once that period of time had passed, and as far as the military, I think at that point in time, I think you would be a lot better able to accept things. School. I wasn't a great student in high school, a little bit lazy, not a little bit, a lot lazy. And the amazing thing was, is 4 years in the United States Marine Corps, I really truly believe I grew up to the point that I could go to university and I could study and I could achieve, because